start, the first question that I am putting your way is clear that what is the difference between legal reasoning based questions in the part B, the section B of your exam, and what is the difference between the essay kind questions? Like, what is the major difference that you would like to tell me?
Okay, so let's understand this in points. So first of all, the number one difference in the question is the whole part B is 75 marks, right? So the six questions that you have, they all carry 10 marks each, and the analytical question, it's 15 marks. So in the base, they are very similar in the sense that you have to reason it out. There is a problem, you have a premise, and then you have to understand what the question is trying to ask you, what they want you to address, because there are multiple dimensions that you can go with, right? But you have to be very specific in understanding this is what prompt is saying. Read between the lining, that is the common base. But the biggest difference I would say after that is that, first of all, the priority, right? Many people think that this essay question is like 15 marks, and the like each of these smaller short answer essays, so they're like 10 marks each, so we do not have to give it that time, we have to save it for the essay part. I would suggest that your priority should be the legal reasoning question, because it's much more easier to approach, because people might be very intimidated that, it's an essay, it's much more easier, we can just write it. Legal reasoning, it may be difficult, but no, legal reasoning is very easy, because you have been given a provision and you have been given a fact. All you have to do is just reason it out, that why do you think that, how in this given situation this fact will be applied. That is very easy to do. The analytical essay, they give you, it's very abstract, you cannot not prepare
Also,
it.
it's very subjective. You don't know what a person thinks about those issues or anything, what the examiner is going to think about it. But in legal, you have that limit of inference, I get.
Exactly. So one of the questions that we were asked was in legal reasoning that there is an architect and she wants to survey the geological site. Now the Geological Protection Act says that after certain meters, this surveillance is not permissible, and putting out the information of surveillance is even more prohibited. She does all of these things. So now we have to argue, has she violated this law or not? It's very, we think it's very intimidating, but you have to understand the facts. Just apply law to it. And the beautiful thing is there is no right answer. The only
Correct.
right thing is the right flow of logic. You can say she has violated the law, you can say she has not violated the law.
Correct.
Important thing is logic. The analytical answer, that is very weird, because weird in the sense that you can't prepare for it. So one of the questions we had was, it was based on legal. There is a very good philosopher, if you have heard of him, Michael Sanders, and his very famous book, Tyranny of Myth of merit. Yeah, myth of merit. It was about that. Tyranny of merit. Yes, sorry. And so they have asked that, they wanted us to comment that how in the present scenario, meritocracy is not enough for you to move up classes.
When I hear you saying this, I understand that a person who has a literary knowledge, who reads literature, who has known literature, who has even studied jurisprudence in its best, who has studied philosophy, might know the answer for this, might understand the implication of this. But a person who is not a reader or who doesn't understand philosophy, it's very difficult.
It might be difficult, and because with NL scientists they try to experiment. So the 2022 paper, it was current affairs based. The 2023 paper, it was a legal affairs, current affair based.
Current legal affairs, you can say.
Yeah, the 2024 one, the most recent one, it was about what the current contemporary discussion is. So you would find this discussion on like a UPSC website essay, or like a blog post from Swaddle, or a Quint has done like a Sunday piece on it, or from a Hindu, and something that you even talk about. Another question was that, so like the developed countries, they produce like the maximum amount of carbon footprint. Yet, what they do to offset that carbon is they buy carbon print. How should but the developing countries pay the price because they are developing, they produce more carbon footprint, but they need it for development. The developed country has always already developed, they have produced the most carbon footprint that they can. So is it fair that the price of sustainable development is paid at cost of a developing country's economy?
And the
So
developing countries are also expected to follow their SDGs, while the
yes.
developed countries are not. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
So, this was not the entire question. I don't remember. It's been 5 months, but that was the gist. This is what we have to address. So here, the literary knowledge is not important.
Yeah,
Here,
correct.
like a GK current affair thing is important.
Yeah.
So here, the question understands. The exam setters understand that you might be good at one thing and you might be good at another thing. So they give you the questions according to your level of reasoning. So if you're a philosophical literary person, you can address that. If you have a technical mind and if you're quite aware of GK, you can address this question.
So they want to just widen their field.
Exactly. So we have to widen your field of knowledge. That don't be panicked that you have to check every single box that I have to do literally and jurisprudence and this and that. Have one of your strengths. Know what your strengths are. Know what is the most easier thing for you to approach it,
Also,
and then perfect it.
you can go for like one thing that you major in, like for example you can go for philosophy or literature, and then you are already at a good place with philosophy and literature. Now you can go on to understanding things that are quite related to that, correct? So
Yes. So the question differs in the sense that legal reasoning question. I'm gonna come back to the question you asked first. Legal reasoning question. It's very systematic. It is a critical analysis of whether the fact match. What will be the you have to pass a judgment, right? So the flow of the prompt does not really matter. In the analytical question, you are doing an analysis of the question, but you choose whether it's going to be subjective, whether you're going to put in doctrines or you're going to put in facts. The best way to prepare for it. That's what comes the difference. How do you prepare for these things? So for the legal answer, it's very easier to prepare. You have the fact, you have the provision, you apply it, and you keep practicing how you analyze certain facts. With the analytical essay, the 15-mark question, the important thing to note is be thorough with your current affairs. And not in the sense that the GK compendium post that this is Prime Minister has hosted this many people died in this many landslide. No. But the contemporary discussion that is going on. Like the two examples that I gave you, the question that we asked. The discussion is out there. Is merit even worth? Like, can I become rich? Can I become influential just because of my merit? Is that even exist in an Indian society?
Yeah.
So you can bring in anything because you have to give your opinion.
Yes.
There is no right answer.
Yeah.
You just have to analyze it. And in the second question, the carbon dioxide one, it can be very fact heavy. You can bring in facts. It cannot be fact heavy, but you can support it with facts. If you do
Facts,
not
yes. It can be you can bring an argument and use facts as a supporting argument so that your argument looks stronger.
Yes. So one way to prepare for this kind of analytical is because, of course, it's not an analytical descriptive essay. It's an analysis of certain things. So to be sure that whatever is thrown at you, you're prepared for it. Be thorough with the current affairs. In the sense, what is contemporary debate is going on, and be able to answer that question. So what I used to do was, like, if I am reading a certain paper, I'm reading like an editorial, or I'm just scrolling through Instagram, like this is what Quinten says, this is what Print has said, this is what the editorial is, this is what Juggernaut, and what is the most pressing issue, and just write an essay that what do you think? What is going on? So like right now there is the Kolkata thing is happening, and now recently the Malayalam industry case has blown up. You won't find this in a Drishti IS compendium.
Yeah.
But this is out there.
Correct.
And as a student, you must have an opinion on this, not knowledge. How do you think?
even if you
Yes.
find this in the Drishti IS compendium, if you find some facts that are important for the case, you might as well read them, try to remember that so that you can support your answer perfectly. I think
Yeah.
that might work.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you have certain facts, you can always begin your story with it, right? So, like as you said, like we have to use SDG goals. So, if you're thorough with your current affairs, if you're thorough with your GK, you know what SDGs are. Just bring in that point, and then you start talking about it. So, to have an opinion, you must know what the contemporary issue is. So,
Correct.
more
Agreed.
on that, yeah. So more on that, itna kg coal kharida, or this is the electricity and this is the GST tax rate. That is important, no doubt. But it's much more important to know what is happening in society.
Also, it is much more important to create your thought process or a viewpoint on these facts. Like if you know that there is, like, India is a rape prone country, like what happened in Kolkata is really very bad, it is a form of revenge maybe, or something very bad has been happening, we don't even know, then you must at least create a viewpoint based on these facts, है ना?
Exactly, exactly. Because and the viewpoint, what is building a viewpoint? You take what the information has given to you, and then you question, what is the implication of this in my life or in someone else's life, or does it relate to a government's policy, or how this situation has changed? Why is it happening? So just
Huh.
critically
Just
analyzing something in your
ask
head.
yourself questions that are enough to answer a lot of things. Correct?
Yeah.
Just like I am
So
asking questions from you today, that's the same way. है ना? Okay, let's move on to the second question if that's okay.
yes.
Okay, so when we are talking about legal reasoning questions and GKCA, you told me that the pattern always changes. It's not very subjective to, like, it's all not always based on particular things. So, what do you think should be the first thought of a person if they want to strengthen their answers? Should they go for legal knowledge more, or should they study for GK and current affairs more?
So in part B only.
Yes, in part B only. But can you give me the reasons in just 3 points so that it's a little concise?
Okay, so the answer to that question is you do not need legal reasoning. You do not need to know what the law is.
Legal
First
knowledge.
of all,
Legal knowledge.
you do not need to know what tort is. You do not need to know what contract is. So, okay, you absolutely need not, because it won't be of any use. They don't want. They are not testing you how much law you need. You know, because they are very sure that they will tell you that, they will teach you that. What they want is to test how can you analyze something, right? So don't be in a sense that you're sitting there and you're mugging up the text. It won't be useful. Secondly, what will be useful, it's not even current affairs, it's a very separate thing for the analytical essay. The most important thing is how do you write the answer, right? What you're writing is not important, how do you write is important, because what you have to write is given in the question only. How do you write it, that's the important thing. So I would suggest just get a judgment, any sort of judgment which you can find, like a 2-3 page judgment of from any civil court, from any criminal court, on a matter of contract or a matter of tort or anything, and analyze how the judge has reasoned it, that how he has reasoned it, that he has taken, this is what the counsel was saying, this is what the appellate was saying, appellate counsel was saying, and then he reasons it out, right? So that would be much more important. And thirdly, for the GK part, that to what extent it is important. It is important to an extent where, again, you do not need to know the pointers. The factual you don't need to know, right? That which date is what is the Doctor Day celebrated,
Agreed.
or who did that, or who created that. That wouldn't be necessary for the part B. But the part B analytical essay, you need larger than life thing. You need to have what is happening. So again, coming back to that, currently what's happening. So there is this Kolkata case, and then this Malayalam industry case. So a question can ask you that two major crime events that has happened to women in a different parts of country, in a different industry, on a very different scale, and the nature of crime is difficult. But do you think does it have a common cause? Right. So you
Agreed.
have to answer it in that way. That do you think it has a common cause? Do you not think it has a common cause? If it is a common cause, what is it? So you have to know what the question is answered.
Yes,
So,
agreed.
so current affair will be useful, but not in the conventional sense that we understand it. In a much more broader context, what is happening with your society sense?
So the next question that I'm going to ask is very, very important. So I want all the students to keep their notebook and pen ready, because she's going to give you a real ideal flow of any answer, both for legal reasoning and for essay. Okay. So first I'll give you like 1 minute to just prepare for it, so that you are prepared with your notebook and pen and everything, and just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay. Um, okay, Richa. So the next question is, what should be the ideal flow of an answer? I want you to answer in two parts. First is for legal reasoning answer, and second is for an essay answer. If it's in pointers, it will be easy for the students to write it down or to make notes of it. Okay. So, thank you.
Okay. So, number first, in part B, we have a legal reasoning, right? Legal reasoning, legal means there is law. Reasoning, you have to reason what the law is trying to say. So, the two ways the answer will flow in an IRAC way, right? IRAC. I stands for issue, R stands for rule, A stands for analysis, and C stands for conclusion. IRAC. That's how the answer flows. So, how you're going to begin your answer is you have to mention what the issue is. What are you talking about? So, you're going to be asked as a judge, what do you think, right? Decide. So let's take an example, right? The law of the country says that the sex determination of a fetus is impermissible, it's prohibited. Now, there are two parents, they're expecting a child. They went to the doctor checked the baby and the mother, and the doctor realized that the child has a certain very specific disease, and he informs the parents, this is your child, and they have this disease. So now the parents go home, they Google the disease, they get to know that this disease can only and only happen to a boy, right? Now, will doctor will be liable for violation of that rule? Because now the question is, because of the doctor's diagnosis, the parent knows the sex of the fetus. So would the doctor will be held liable? So how you're going to start your answer is you're going to give your judgment. So I believe that in my humble opinion, or as per my opinion, or after analysis of facts and provision, I come to a conclusion that the doctor will be liable or shall not be liable for the violation of. This is your issue. That's what you're addressing. Second comes your rule. Now you're going to quote, as per the provision, determination of sex of the fetus by any medical practitioner is prohibited and punishable by law. This is your. Now you're going to analyze. You're going to analyze. You're not analyzing the law. Remember that law is going to guide you. It's the lighthouse, right? What you're going to analyze is your fact. How has the doctor conducted himself, and how has the parent conducted himself? So you're going to match the. So law is so as per the facts of the case, what the doctor did was he did a diagnosis. He performed his duty of treating his parents, and upon the diagnosis, he informed them of the said disease. He never intended to disclose the sex of the child. He never implied the sex of the child through his conduct. There was no malicious intent in his conduct, right? The sex of the fetus was determined through actions of the parents. It was their voluntary decision to know the nature of the disease, and the determination of sex was a very a reasonable result of that. It was not a voluntary action of anyone. This can be analysis. And another thing to say, You have written your issue, you have written your roles, you have done your analysis of facts, right? Now, to how to make your answer stand out is you put your reasoning of what the act was intended to do and what was happening. So you can say the intention of the act can be understood, not the act, the intention of the provision can be understood as it does not want medical practitioners to determine the sex of the child, so that parents voluntarily seek to know what this sex of the child is. Here, the conduct of the parent and the doctor does not reflect any of that. In that sense, then you have done your analysis and then you give your conclusions. Therefore, so not therefore, but yes, since the doctor has not conducted in malicious way or yada yada yada, therefore I would conclude that the doctor should not be held liable for violation of the said provision. So whatever you have listed in the issue part, what your judgment is, and the analyst part, it's a very like a summary conclusion in the last part, and that conclusion is very important because it compacts everything. Right. So in the beginning, you're telling this is my judgment, this is my position in the argument. So it's like, okay, this is what the person is trying to say. And then they say that how you have come to that conclusion, the one that you have listed. And then at the end, it's a very garnishing kind of thing. The conclusion is very important. So this is going to be the flow for your legal reasoning. Now coming to part B, which is the analytical reasoning question, right? यहाँ पे there is no legal reasoning. Your flow is going to be as I said. So let's take this example only. I remember correctly. In Tyranny of Merit, Brian Sanders' opinion that the current capitalistic society does not account for merit is not alone sufficient to provide for upliftment of a person, right?
Can you repeat? Can you please repeat?
Okay, so so let's just take the base of it. Merit is not the sole factor which can uplift a person's lifestyle. So this is the question, right? Tyranny of merit, that merit is not enough anymore. So you can begin in a way. You have to give an introduction, right? You have to give a very good introduction. That okay, so this is what this is what my answer is going to be about. So then after the introduction, there has to be point by point. You have to understand what you're trying to say. So if I am writing this question, I believe that yes, merit is a myth. Now, why merit is a myth? The important thing to approach is not writing, but also thinking how you're going to write. So this is a 15-mark question. I would suggest that one must keep 20 minutes. Like you have 150 minutes. 20 minutes should be for this essay alone. So in first 3 minutes, you should have a mind map of yourself, right? A mind map that you know that what you're going to address and how you're going to address it. So take a pencil and you just write. Okay, so this is merit. Merit is this. This is how it affects a person's life in this current Indian society. How a person becomes influential. Now, is merit playing a role in that? What are the factors that restricts merit uplifting a person's life? What are these factors? Can we approve these factors? If these factors cannot go, then I think merit is not responsible for flowing a person's life. Now, this is your structure, right? So you have to first introduce what you're trying to say. So if the question is merit enough to make your life better? Your position is yes or no, merit is not enough. So you have to first introduce what do you understand by merit, and then you begin that how it's going to play out. So in 3 paragraphs, right? So this is a 500-word essay. So let's just say your introduction cannot be more than 80 words, right? Your introduction can never be more than 1/5 of your whole essay. You're just introducing. So you can either give a very interesting introduction, or you can just say that in this essay you're talking about how merit does not help, right? And then the rest of the board, and then the last 100 words have to be safe for conclusion. It's similar to your IRAC, right? You're giving your position, and in the conclusion, you're summarizing your position. So you have to do that similarly in the analytical reasoning part, right? Then your body, you have to analyze it. You do not need to know the facts, the philosophy, or anything. It is a very logic, right? You must understand this. You question yourself, and you can bring in certain facts. Like if I have
You
to answer this,
defend
right?
your viewpoint.
You have to defend your viewpoint, and if I have to answer this, I would say that merit inherently means that a person is capable of doing something. They have merit in the sense that they can achieve something, that they can bring in positive view or benefit through their acts, through their knowledge. So we consider merit as someone coming from a very good college, coming who's passing an exam. I would suggest that that is not enough in two ways. First of all, it is not enough to give you. So I'm going to say that I'm going to conceptualize that why merit is not enough. So in the sense that why the concept of merit is not enough, and how even if it is there, even if merit matters in Indian society, it's not gonna flow. So I can suggest that in legal field, nepotism exists. Right. Even though I'm very talented, I can be from the best law college in this country. If a senior advocate wants to give the firm to his child, my merit would not come into issue, right? India is a very like a connection based society. You get work through your connections, you get work through your influence, right? Even though now you can bring in reservation, that even though people from SC/ST backgrounds, women, minorities, they have reservation, they struggle to get a job because people look at their surname and they decide that they don't have merit. Just because they had reservation, they're not going to have merit. They're going to just take up someone who's from general category because they assume that they are more meritorious, and then they give them placement. It's your opinion. I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying this is wrong. It's just your analysis of something.
Correct.
How do you play out? And then you can also say, what is even merit? Because I am meritorious at the age of 23 because I have been given adequate resources since I was 7,
Yes.
8, 15. I was trained in English. I was trained in philosophy. I was trained in jurisprudence. I was given the best newspapers. I was given the best magazine. That's why my mind is inculcated in that
Yeah.
sense.
Merit is actually capitalism of knowledge.
Capitalism of knowledge, exactly. You can say anything. So here you're going to understand that here it's as skill based it is. You must know a very basic thing about society.
Yeah.
What is happening? This conversation is going on in society. That does merit even exist? Why do we go to coachings? Why does IIMs and IITs matter anymore?
Yeah.
This conversation is happening, right? As I said about the carbon dioxide emission, this conversation is happening. So you must be present in these senses. And it is as similar as the legal analysis part. You have to give your position. At the end, you have to save like 100 words for your conclusion. So you have what, like 300 words? Because 500 is maximum. So in that sense, you divide your issue in 3 paragraphs of 100 each. And then you introduce, this is what I understand by merit and of society. And then you bring in that why it is not correlating anymore.
Okay. Agreed. Okay. The next thing that I want to ask you is just a rapid fire kind of a thing. I just want one word from you, okay? Is building a great, hugely, like, very good vocabulary important for this exam? Does it do any good?
No,
No. And
a big
yeah. And what about if a person has a critical approach, if they have an opinion about everything?
yes, that would be helpful.
Okay. Now let's move on to the last question that I want to ask you today, and that is about part A. Okay. So you have to give me just 3 points that a person needs to do for part A, and 3 points that they should completely ignore and they should never get into. So just
First one, time.
first of all,
Time
what are
management.
you talking about? Are you talking
Okay.
about what you should do?
Yeah, you should. So, what are the most important things that you must remember and you must work on when you're approaching part A? Number one is time management. It is not testing your knowledge at all, even though there are questions of current affair based. Of course, current affairs, that is knowledge, but it's mostly talking about your skills. You must be time bound. You must ensure that you're not wasting your time. that whatever you're reading, you're able to read between the lines very fast. So you have 75 questions. The ideal way to crack this exam is you have to approach, and what the thing happens is you have to take account for everything. So you're not even, you have, there is a plastic file that you have to open, then you have to write your name, and then you have to mark in the OMR sheet, and you have to be very slow and methodical about this because it can ruin your life if you do it wrong. So 5 minutes for that, and 5 minutes for actually marking the MCQs, because I have done that, guys. I have marked another exam that I was giving. I have marked 10 MCQs wrong just because of the MCQ, the OMR mistake. So take away 10 minutes of yours. You only have like 50 to 52 minutes to approach the 75 questions. So for each para, I say you cannot give more than 7 minutes or 6 minutes. So and for 6 minutes, right? For 6 minutes, you have 10 questions. So in 2 to 3 minutes, you have to analyze, you have to understand what the passage is trying to say, you have to mind map everything, and in the rest 3 minutes, you have to answer the 9 questions that you have. So time management is very important.
I'm sorry to break you here. Does the QPO method work?
QPO method, please elucidate it.
First you read the question, then you go for the passage, and then you go for the options. Does that work here?
No, it does not work because you don't know what the question is going to ask you, and it does not help. It really does not help. You have to stick to your passage as well because you will be confused. You will be fluttering the pages, right? So, and the questions are long. They're not a one sentence question.
Yeah, I understand.
They are paragraph in itself. So
It's not
so
easy to remember the questions itself.
Yes. So how can you? And what happens is the second point. Second point is practicing critical analysis. So by practicing critical analysis, I mean is that keep your mind empty, keep your mind open. Consider your mind as a computer, right? So we have a certain, like, on computers, if there is more RAM, you have to remove it, right? Otherwise, the computer doesn't work. That's what happens with your brain. If there is just too much useless information, it will be difficult for you to understand what's happening. So when you read a passage, you have to critically analyze what is important, what the author is trying to say. You cannot say, like, if there is a reading comprehension passage, you cannot be like, what was the weather and what was, you're reading it. But it should not register your mind. What should register your mind is what the premise author is building and what the conclusion author is leading towards and how the author is leading us towards that. So you have to practice critical analysis. And the third thing is understand what the question is asking, right? So you have your text and you have understood the text. It's very important for you to understand what the question is asking. Yeah, read the question very, very carefully.
Yeah.
So the questions are, which of the following inferences can be drawn upon this, drawn from this passage, except? This except really ruins your life because you don't read the expect. You just Google through like, all of these three are similar. Why? I can find all of the three inferences. Just let's choose one. But the question is saying except, but you have not registered that. So reading the question is much more important.
Reading and I think a little bit of marking also.
You can mark. Just take your pencil and just be very, very light with it because invigilators will be up your nose about it. Then read between the lines. What is actually asking you? So it's not what is the conclusion? What is the inference? What is the assumption? No, it's going to be a para. So they can give you a hypothetical. So let's assume para is discussing a conversation between X and Y, and the question will give you, well, A and B are having this conversation. What will X do? Right, they can bring in certain what would this professor's opinion would be in this certain situations.
Correct.
Right, so you have to understand what the question is saying.
And what should they not do?
What they should not do is I would suggest not to go for questions first because it's not helpful. Okay, you waste your time and what happens is that you just saw one word. If you don't, as I said, I broke you down now the amount of time that you have. You have 6 minutes for each passage. You have to have 3 minutes for your passage. You have to have the rest 3 minutes to answer the question. Then you have to mark this in 1 minute. You have to mark this very carefully and tediously in your MCQ, in your OMR sheet. You don't have time. You know, if you go back, you will register one word, and then it's gonna be the center in your head that I have to look for this one word, and in that whole passage, everything else becomes a background light, and what you have seen in the question becomes the most important thing, right? So that is not helpful. Your mind should be a clean slate. So just don't do that. Okay, trust yourself that you're going to understand the passage very well. Secondly, what you should not do is what you should be, is there is a difference when we learn about reading comprehension and when we read about critical reasoning. Inferences and inferences are different meaning in legal reason. It has a different meaning in reading comprehension and in critical reasoning, right? Don't be confused about if the question is asking what can be inference drawn upon this, right? Sometimes they're not, but the question is framed in this way that it's not even asking about inference. It can elucidate you about what the assumption is.
What
So
is
don't
implied? What is implied?
what is implied that sometimes because inference is what something that is not stated, but the question can be framed in its way that it wants you to exactly look for what is stated in the passage. So don't be very focused on the verbosity of the question. Just be focused on what it is trying to say. And I would suggest not to do is do not do part B before part A. I beg of you, do not do this mistake. I have not met a single person. I mean, there is like 100 of us, but I have not a single person who was like, yeah, I did the part B first and then I approached part B. Please don't be like this. Okay, it's part A. It's good. It's going to be very useful. It's very important. Okay,
Also,
approach
I
it
think
first.
it makes it easier because you have a lot of reading to do, and then once you're done with your reading, you have a lot of vocabulary. You have certain words that you can use. It's always a supporting cast kind of a thing.
It is a very supporting. It is, and secondly, what happens is that your mind gets wired to think like this. So you have been analyzing
Correct.
and critiquing like what for like half for an hour long. So in legal reasoning, it becomes much more easier to transcend into that state,
Yeah.
right? You're just walking in here, you know, you're surrounded by everyone, you're very intimidated. This is the NLS campus, and you're so anxious. It gets difficult to drive straight into IREC method.
Yeah.
Understand the question, right? It's much more easier to write when you have read something.
Yes.
So please don't do this mistake.
You get
Just
into
open up.
the thought wiring.
You get into thought violent, exactly. So please don't do this mistake. Just approach the party first, and don't do this mistake of just keeping everything, marking everything at the end. Don't do that. If you have finished one passage, mark the MCQ immediately. Or if you have done
The
two
OMR.
passages, two passages, then do not, you should not mark more than 15 questions at once because you will mess up.
That's true.
Because you will mess up. Because here the thing is that there is negative marking to it. So you cannot leave a question. But you do not want to, you be wrong. So it may be that, you're leaving certain questions for the end. So just don't do that mistake, right? Just if you have done one passage, two passage, just mark it immediately.
Okay, so now, Richa, there are some questions that are already here. First question is, can you share your part B answers? Which I am not sure if you can do that. है ना? If you can, obviously it will be helpful. Then you send it to me, I'll send it to them. Okay. Other than that, there is one thing that I think is very, very important. Can we write the contrary in the same answer? Can we write both arguments, like for and against?
Okay. For and against. Is it about legal reasoning or
Yes,
analytical
I
reasoning?
think it's about
I'm
legal
good.
reasoning.
Okay, no, you cannot. In legal reasoning, you have to take a stand, right? You're not.
Because you're a judge.
You're a judge, okay? So you can say another thing about legal reasoning. You can say that this person, so like there is A and B, and you think A is right. So you can say that B may claim that this incident happened and this, and yada yada yada. However, then you bring in B point. So
Yeah,
you can
you
also
can do
string
that thing that you can mind map what B is going to say. So that is why I am bringing up this conversation or this argument so that it looks stronger.
Yeah, so you can bring in contrary opinion for sure, but you have to bring in your support. Like
Yes.
we may claim
How you
this.
will defend
However,
that contrary argument?
but you have to take a stand. You have to either support A or B. You can bring in B, but you can say that B is wrong. B is saying this, but B is wrong. A is right, and this is why A is right.
Okay, the next question is, what if we feel problem comprehending the passage in itself? So I think this is a very lengthy question. I think the answer is going to be very lengthy. Let's keep it for a little while after. I'll surely tell you, Siddharth, how can you comprehend passages better, but we have to move on from this, okay? So the next question by Aditi Upadhyay is, ma'am, how to understand the argument structure in passage, because we comprehend it in other way and the original comprehension is different. I couldn't understand the question.
Yeah. So I'm not able to understand this question. Wait, let me open the chat box. Wait. How to understand the argument structure in passage because we comprehend it other way and the original. Oh, okay. So your understanding may be different, and what you're trying to say is different. Yeah, it does not happen that way. Don't worry. If you practice enough, you will understand what the author is trying to say. Right? You have to understand where the author is leading. So understand in each paragraph. So understand that how are you going to write certain things. Right. So when I'm going to write something, I'm going to make sure one conclusion is one paragraph, second conclusion is in second paragraph, right? So just understand what one passage is trying to say. You're not going to comprehend it another way. You're not an alien, okay? The writing is going to be in English. You are trained in English. It's about practice. It's about seeing what the author is leading you towards, and it will build from practice only.
Okay, someone is asking, matlab, actually, the name is someone. So, someone is asking, what is the role that coaching played in your success? Your success. I don't think she's going to talk about coaching more than me and Yash sir.
Yeah, because there was no coaching. It was just Deepshika ma'am and like Yash said, there is no coaching for NLSAT, right? So I cannot say coaching, because I was alone with just Miss Deepika ma'am's mentorship. I would say a good guidance plays a very important role, right? Because what happens is you have a very individual stake in this exam, right? A teacher or a guide. Even a guide is very helpful in that sense. Okay. Uh, I cannot share you my Telegram ID. I'm so sorry. You have Deepshika ma'am to guide you. Don't worry. Um, any good mentor or guidance, because so many selling packages. Exactly, that's what coachings do, right? But you have Deepshika ma'am for that sense. She's a very good mentor. She's a very good guide. I come from a very small town. I come from a very small college, right? But I am here in country's best of college, and I know I have worked hard, but a good mentorship like Deepshika ma'am, like Yash sir, they hammer it, they refine it. So don't worry. If you stick with Deepshika ma'am, you're in good hands. What kind of questions are coming in GK? No one knows. I have my thoughts and prayers for you. The best thing about being in NLS is that I do not have to give NLSAT again, because the GK part is very anxious inducing. However, GK is not going to be like a very DO focused GK. Like who made what kind of statue, what bridge was inaugurated. That's not going to be, right? Something that you would find in. So I read the Frontline magazine of Hindu, right? And there were 3 questions from that Frontline. So there was this author, right? And if the passage is written by a certain author, they're going to ask you a question, well, who do you think has written this book? Give another, which one of this is another book written by the author of this passage? So stick to one magazine. It's going to be contemporary, but it's going to be manageable. Don't stress about that. Could we also while analyzing and writing the essay. Give counter. Some tips for defending our stance and counter argument in part B. Okay, so like I gave you the example of the doctor, right? So you can say that how to defend our stance. We can say that a person might, so it is easier to held doctor liable because as per a concrete interpretation of the provision, it seems this way that the doctor has led to determination of the sex. However, if we analyze the facts, we come to conclusion that that doctor was not maliciously. He did not have the intent. Neither he was acting in that way. So, in my example, I cannot say you, but yes, how if two people are involved, defending becomes very easy when two people are involved, right? So, if two people had made a contract and one is trying to break that contract, here you don't need the knowledge of contract, but you can say that A might assert that he has the right over this property, right? But he is wrong in his assertion because because the interpretation of law provides us with a very different conclusion. We understand that it is B who has the right claim of this property. As per the provisions, this is this. Now B has in this is this and this. Therefore, A's assertion is wrong. The property belongs to B. You can answer it in this way.
I think that's it. Let's end the session with a very good note. Thank you very much, Richa, मेरे बारे में इतनी अच्छी अच्छी बातें बोलने के लिए. And
It was not अच्छी बातें, it was the truth. It just had a good character.
chalo, all the best, Richa. Have fun. Do well in
Thank
your
you so
mood.
much. Thank you so much. All the best, guys. I hope I see you in NLS. And I hope I remain a senior. And I hope I get to meet you.
And I hope you get to bully them. चलो ठीक है. Everyone, bid bye to Richa.
Bye, guys. Bye, ma'am. Hope to see you
Bye.
again.
See you. Bye.